I was pretty lucky, this past spring. Over a couple different instances, I was able to go down to Arizona and Mesa and broadcast Chicago Cubs games for Marquee Sports Network, as well as 670 The Score. I was able to do 5 broadcasts, and just being able to be down there and see 16,000 fans in February go to a Chicago Cubs affiliated game, and whether it's Cactus League or a playoff game, I mean, the atmosphere there is just tremendous. And just seeing Cubs fans, people get excited over baseball, it was a blast. And just being able to work with Marquee, my first 2 games able to do with Ryan Dempster, Cubs great, and then my last 3 games able to work with Jim Deshaies, the longtime color analyst for the Cubs, and Rick Sutcliffe, former Cy Young Award winner. So just being able to work with them along with Ron Coomer on radio, I mean, it was a blast, just being able to see them and talk to them about what they see up in the big leagues. And Boog Shambi was a big help in orchestrating that and allowing me to get those opportunities. And just being able to get out in Arizona and see the Cubs in action. I've been lucky enough since 2018 to have this job and to see the clubhouses and how they network and how the guys interact with each other. And I think as a Cubs fan, this is the best the clubhouse has been in my 5 years here. I mean, you have a perfect mix of young players, on the precipice of making the big leagues, like a Brennan Davis and a Matt Mervis, and you combine them with free agents who you've been able to sign, like a Dansby Swanson, a Trey Mancini, Eric Hosmer, guys who have not only won at the big league level, but have won World Series at the big league level. And you combine that with Cody Bellinger, former MVP winner, who also won a World Series. And you add that with the Nico Horners and the Ian Happs and the guys who have been in the organization for quite some time. It's a really nice mix and match of young talent and experienced nucleus. And you're able to do that in the National League Central. Now, I'm not sure if the Cubs are going to win 95 games, 100 games. But in the Central, where you have teams that are good, but they have weaknesses, like the Cardinals. What's their pitching going to be like? Can they stay healthy? The Brewers. What's their hitting going to be like? The Reds, the Pirates, they're young and they seem to still be on the rebuilding mode. So, if you're a Cubs fan and you say, hey, their average win total, Fangraphs has them at 75 victories. If they win 84 games, they could win the Central. So they might be the surprise team to me. And I'm not just saying that because, I work for the Cubs and I see them. I look at the talent up and down the roster, and not only do you have all-star caliber players, but I mean, you saw in spring training that, they were optioning players that were on the big league team and paying big dividends on the big league team last year. So when you're optioning your players off the 26-man roster that are really talented, that means you have more than 26 caliber big league players. And I think that shows the depth of the Cubs organization and what they've been able to do to their system over the last 2 years. And it really started with the Chris Bryant trade, and you get Alexander Canario and Caleb Killian, who could be with the Iowa Cubs this year. You trade Andrew Chafin for Daniel Palencia as a 102-mile-per-hour fastball. You trade Javier Baez for Pete Crow Armstrong, now the number 1 ranked prospect in the organization. Anthony Rizzo, you trade for Kevin Alcantara, now the number 2 ranked prospect in the organization. So you really revitalize that entire system. The Cubs system is deeper than it's ever been. When you talk with top flight talent, you have the KBs, the Javis, the Chris Bryant, or the Kyle Schwarbers, and they were probably top flight, just as good. But you have Pete Crow Armstrong, Kevin Alcantara, Brendan Davis, Matt Mervis, Alexander Canario. But you combine that with DJ Hurst and Jordan Wicks and Cade Horton. Top to bottom of this organization is deeper than it's ever been. So if you're a fan of Chicago Cubs baseball, and by product, you're a fan of Iowa Cubs baseball, that's what I would focus in on. You look at this opening day roster and you have Matt Mervis, Brennan Davis, the Cubs minor league player of the year, and then the number 3 ranked prospect in the organization, and Brennan, who was also the Futures Game MVP in 2021. You have Caleb Killian, who you got for Chris Bryant, who at one point was a top 100 prospect and could be a big-time big leaguer and a big-time force in that starting rotation. So there is a huge reason to come down to Iowa Cubs games, and that's just because the system has been in a place where it hasn't been before since I've been here, and it's really the deepest the organization has been in quite some time. And just some other stuff that's gone on during spring. I think that this being the first quote-unquote normal spring, since 2019, it's a big deal because 2020 you had COVID, 2021 you started late because of COVID, 2022 you had the strike, so you started late as well. And now here it's your first normal spring in 4 years, and you've really been able to see these guys and get them at bats in spring training, and then the World Baseball Classic, which I think is also really special. And I think everyone saw United States, Japan, Shohei Ohtani versus Mike Trout, and think, wow, this is incredible. Well, they did that for 2 weeks leading up to it, and you had certain Iowa Cubs players, Curtis Taylor, Jared Young, Nelson Velasquez, Roenis Elias, who all played in the World Baseball Classic. Jared Young had a couple big knots for Team Canada. Curtis Taylor is one of the best relief pitchers. Nelson Velasquez for Team Puerto Rico, he said it was the best atmosphere that he's ever played in, and Roenis Elias played for Cuba. So you have all these players that have had experience in international play while doing that during spring training. It really just added to the excitement of baseball. So you have those 4 players here with the Iowa Cubs. You have guys who were in big league spring training, like a Matt Mervis, like a Brandon Davis, like a Sergio Alcantara. It's a 24-year-old shortstop who was with the Iowa Cubs in 2021, was in the big leagues with other teams here in 2022, and then in 2023 he's back with the Iowa Cubs. So you have a lot of talent here between that and the pitching. We already talked about Caleb Killian. And then some of the bullpen arms, Manny Rodriguez, Jeremiah Estrada, all with sub-4 ERAs up in the big leagues. And that's what I mean by just the talent that's up in the big leagues now. The fact that these guys are here and they were up in the big leagues then and pitch well, it just shows how talented, 1, the Cubs system is, and 2, how good the Iowa Cubs can be. So I think you guys should all come down here starting March 31st and leading up to September. Not just being able to come down here to Principal Park. I mean, I think that the first series of the season is always my favorite. There's no 2 better words in the baseball vernacular than opening day, and we have that on Friday against the Columbus Clippers. A couple good prospects. They have Brian Rocchio, a shortstop, who's a top 100 prospect in all of minor league baseball for the Cleveland Guardians. But you have 3 games here, March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. 31st starts at 7:08 p.m., which is on Friday, a 3:08 p.m. game on Saturday, then a 1:08 p.m. game on Sunday. I mean, that's a big series that I think about when fans said they should come down to the ballpark. Also, being able to see the Memphis Redbirds come to town. So look on the calendar. You think the biggest rivalry in baseball is Cubs-Cardinals? I think you're right. And having the AAA rendition of that in the Memphis Redbirds and the Iowa Cubs, there's a different feel in the ballpark when you see a little bit of blue, you see a little bit of red. And so just make sure you look at the calendar and you see Memphis Redbirds, Iowa Cubs. Make sure you find a day during that time. Either it's a Friday night where there's fireworks, or Sunday when kids can run the bases. It'll be a lot of fun. So, I mean, those would be the 2 series that really stick out to me. And in terms of promotions, you saw on our social media, we have a Caitlin Clark bobblehead that just got said, and Caitlin Clark being the National Player of the Year and throwing out a first pitch, and Caitlin's going to come on the radio, and we're going to pepper her with questions. But you'll be able to get the bobblehead. Check them out at iowacubs.com for the package that includes a game ticket and the bobblehead. So get your Caitlin Clark bobblehead. We also are about to announce Thomas Ian Nicholas, who is Henry Rowengartner from Rookie of the Year. It's the 30th anniversary of Rookie of the Year. He'll be coming to the ballpark on June 24th. That's a Saturday, where he'll be having a meet and greet with fans, throwing out a first pitch, and singing the national anthem. So when you can bring Henry Rowengartner, fireworks, and Caitlin Clark to Principal Park, I think that has all the makings for a great summer. So I will look on the calendar, see what those dates are, and remember, just check us out at iowacubs.com. You could also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our Twitter is at Iowa Cubs. So check out all that for all the information. I'm really looking forward to Iowa Cubs baseball, and I think you guys should be too.